You could find imperfections, you could point out flaws, but I could also tell you to get the hell off my property. Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears, and this week we're actually going to do something a little different. If you've been watching this channel for a while now, you'll know that this is mostly cars, but I've also got other projects that demand my time, that demand my attention, and certainly demand my money, and that is my house. So over the New Year's weekend, I learned a little bit of interesting news, and that is that my tenant in my rental house, which is next door to my house, is moving out in April. So that means I have a little bit of a ticking time bomb on my hands. I need to get a new tenant into my rental house as quickly as possible, and there's been some renovations that I've been dying to do to that house, not only to get more money out of it, obviously, but also to make it a nicer place to live. So since she's still living there until April, there's plenty of things I can still do to the outside to make this house a lot more appealing and to have a really fun project that I've always wanted to work on. The beginning of this project is going to be the front pathway to the house. I got a really sweet deal on 2 pallets of paver bricks. I'm going to lay them in front of that house, and I have more than enough to lay in front of this house and maybe even some around the garage. That's the extent of the deal I got on these paver bricks. I got a really sweet deal. So let's take a look at what I've got started, and hopefully you'll enjoy this journey as well. Here is just a quick look at some of the things I'm doing to my house in the coming months. Obviously I did not haul this with the Jeep, that is way too heavy. But I had a bunch of pavers delivered, and I've been working on my rental. I'm preparing to build a pathway. You see here, I've started cleaning it up here. Still have to clean that up. And I've started doing a rough grade over here. I need to get sand so that I can get ready to pack in the bricks. And I've capped off the planter beds to hold these bricks together. And once I sand that down, it'll come out nicely. I also need to get some sand to finish packing this in. I used dirt from out back, and it packed in pretty well. I think over time it's actually going to be just fine. But this is just a no big deal pathway to get to the faucet, the hose. And it ends right there at the end of the porch. So I still need to do stuff out there. I've got a lot to do out in this direction, actually. On this side of the house, I've just sprayed a little bit of weed killer. I haven't done anything, but I need to resolve this. I want to pour some concrete, I think I want to build like a little mini retaining wall here to hold the yard back away from the crawl space, and then put some concrete down at the bottom here so I can clean that out. And along here, I actually have recycled concrete that's piled up next to my house that I'm going to lay all the way across here, and just keep the weeds and the rodents away. Here's the beginning of day 3, end of day 2. The toughest part about this has been the grade. There's a little bit of a hill here, and I've been trying to resolve that by not only cutting down the hill, but also by raising up the bricks a little bit kind of as I go, but still maintaining a downhill slope into the rocks. The reason why a little bit of a grade upset coming this way doesn't really concern me is because there's still a distinct grade coming this way. And that means that any water that's coming down that may get any kind of resistance here is going to still go into these rocks. And because there's so much space in between these rocks, it would take like a biblical flood in order for water to really pool up here. So far, so good is what I say. You could find imperfections. You could point out flaws. But I could also tell you to get the hell off my property. Today's focus is beginning with this line of rocks down here, sourcing them from farther in my backyard. Once I finish these rocks, there's probably 3 or 4 left to go of the big ones. So I have to bring down a bunch of smaller ones to fit in between the little spaces, but I'm not terribly concerned with that yet. once I finish with those rocks, I'm going to clear off this other side here so I can begin prepping that surface, as well as shoveling out any of the messy dirt on the way down the hill here. This here, I'm just ignoring for now. I'm pretending it doesn't exist. I don't see it. I'll deal with it when the pathway gets much closer. This, I'm just really not looking forward to it. And up here, on the right side, you can see there was a little bit of a low spot there that I began filling up just with dirt that I took from shaving off of the grade here. I just dropped it back there, and I also have to resolve this little concrete line here. I might re-pour it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I got to do something with it. And again, I'm just not going to think about it. I'm going to pretend I don't see it until it's time to actually do something about it. Well, the weather's starting to turn south again, and I have to return to my day job, so this is where I was able to get with my pathway. And I gotta say, this was a lot of work. I worked yesterday until I could barely move anymore. And I got it done. This is as far as I want to go with it. I'm going to put a small concrete form at the end to cap it off. You know, I'll put some steel wire inside the concrete to hold it in place so that the bricks don't drift downward. And of course I got to move like one or two more big rocks. Maybe I'll just move some of these over here to kind of cap it off at the end. I have to pile a few more up there. You know, there's no shortage of rocks, so I'm not really worried about that. And then once I get it all secured in, I can fill all of these cracks with sand a few more times. You can see if you look really closely, there's a couple of wavy spots, but you know, it's kind of, the high point is in the center and it moves away from the center, which is good for the drainage on either side. So this actually doesn't bother me really at all. I just have to keep coming back and refilling these cracks as the sand settles in. And then, of course, this weekend, I'm going back to work on this side of the pathway. And it's doing really well. I have a much better vision for this. I'm going to probably just remove this concrete, and where the bricks I'm laying in set closest to it, I'll just fill it as best I can. I'm not going to worry about reproducing this curve with the bricks that I'm laying, but I'm going to just, you know, pack it in real nice so that they kind of push against each other and stay in place. And then there's a little bit of a low spot right here that I'm gonna fill in, probably pull some of the dirt over here back because it goes up a little bit. And if I can cut that hump down while also resolving a grade issue over here, that's a win-win for me. We're gonna start down at the street here, looking at the pathway up to the house, and you can see I've got the split started. And in here, I've got it all filled in with sand, and it is rock solid. It's like as if I had poured a concrete pad. It's great. There's a little bit of drift on that tile there. You know, honestly, these tiles on the edges, if they drift just slightly, it really doesn't bother me. This is an 80-year-old house, so it'll eventually look like an 80-year-old pathway. And you see here the concrete that's broken off of this little brick formation here. I'm keeping that just kind of as an edge piece, and I'm gonna fill in neck behind it so that the bricks will push up against that and vice versa, and they'll hold each other in place. And you see I'm not finished filling it in here or in the cracks in between the tile. I've got it all the way up almost to the edge. I don't have that much more to go, but I've got some root issues. This is part of this oak tree, and oak trees, especially when they're this size, cutting this root is not going to be a problem. Just, you know, just FYI, big giant oak trees have a massive root system that it would really be an effort for me to kill it by hand. So I'm going to take that little piece out with my Sawzall because a hatchet did not do the job. And once I cut that little piece up, I can fill it in, and I have to add more rocks here. I really don't want to pick up rocks today, but it looks like I'm going to. I'm pretty sure when your Sawzall blade looks like that and it starts smoking, it's time to change it out. But I got the root out. And again, like I said, this is literally the only root that I had to trim on this tree. I got the other side of the entrance formed up here, and I thought it was going to be good. But then I stood over there and looked at it from a different angle. And let's just go on over there and take a look. My issue is that these bricks are starting to rise up above that little concrete line, and I'm going to have to do something on the other side to stop the bricks from shifting out. So I think I'm just going to bring the rock line out to where the concrete starts to sink into the dirt. So I got to bring the rocks out a little bit. I'm going to cover some of this path, but I really don't think that's a big deal. This is just like a little sitting area anyway. I've also filled in the sides here just with regular dirt and aggregate from out back. When I'm done filling in the cracks here, I can use that sand there to top it off and to help seal it in, because that sand has a little bit of cement in it, which is really why it's so valuable as a brick filler. Would you look at that? So there's a little bag over there. It's on top of a small pile of sand, and that's because as the rain washes down the pathway, because it's been raining off and on the past couple of days, it's actually going to help the sand compress in between the bricks, and then I will come back and tamp more sand in between the center bricks. I do have to move a couple of really huge rocks in this line of rocks over here, and that is because the bricks kind of raise up a little bit over the edge of the other bricks, and I need to kind of back it up with something really, really heavy so that they don't continue to shift out. It's not that big of a deal, but it's something that I'm gonna do eventually, soonish. I may even just completely circle the brick path formation there just to give it some separation, so that when you have a park bench there, you won't have like vegetation just kind of growing up into it. Let's walk down here. Of course, I still have to do the concrete end caps. I'm going to do that next week while I work on some other things. I'm also going to fill in those weird gaps along the rock wall, do some touch up on the concrete caps to the brickwork at the porch. And I'm also going to do some work with like a little mini retaining wall along here by the access for the crawl space under the house. And you see I have almost an entire pallet of bricks left. That's plenty, more than enough to do my house. And here's this side over here. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I wanted to give a special thank you to my 100 subscribers. I just crossed a, for me, huge milestone. Now, if you have, 1, 2, 3 million subscribers like Tavarish or Hoovy, 100 is not a big deal. But for me, it's amazing. For those guys, they all started at humble beginnings. They all started kind of where I am right now, just doing something they love. And while I'm not trying to be them, I feel like I'm at least doing this for the right reason. And that is that it's stuff I enjoy doing and enjoy sharing. And it seems like, apparently, some people enjoy watching it. So If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like, share, subscribe, uh, comment. One of the things I like to do to show my appreciation for the content that I enjoy is I comment, I interact, I keep the conversation going, because that's how you show support for a channel that you like, for people that you like to see. So if you do like what I put out there, I would really appreciate it, and I genuinely appreciate it. And it really does go a long way towards building something for the future. Honestly, don't think I'll ever get that big, but you got to start somewhere. And thank you to the 100 people that helped start this.